Welcome back to the second of 3 hand lettering methods. The first one was tracing. This is going to be using strokes. So the benefits of this method are, one, it's iterative. You can make lots of variations. It's adjustable, scalable, and reusable. The downside is that the more precision you want, the more time it may take. So let's go ahead and look at how to use this method. Before we do anything, you probably want to jump up into your preferences, go to the shortcuts, and for the expand stroke item under the layers menu, you probably want to give yourself a shortcut. This will turn strokes into paths, which you may want for future tweaking or adding additional effects or layers. All right, with that done, let's jump in. Here is a scan I did of a pencil drawing. This time, rather than tracing the outside of the drawing, I'm just going to draw a path on the center line of this artwork. So it could be literally a single guide pencil drawing, or if you're working digitally, it was quicker to use my pencil. So I'm just tracing the interline, unlike the other method where I trace the contour. Once I've got that center line, I can use the pixel tool or the brush tool. I'm going to go ahead do it again here with the stabilizer on. Changing the length. That pink string is the stabilizer. The longer that string, the more lead time you have before your pen or pencil is pulled. And what that does is actually minimizes the number of points that you're drawing and makes for a much smoother path. So I recommend, if you're going to be using this method, that you turn the stabilizer on and give yourselves a little bit of a length there. This is what it looks like without. You can see it's jaggedy because the program is literally taking your own hand movements and your jittery shaky hands like mine. So I definitely recommend using the stabilizer if you're going to use the sculpted strokes approach. So let's go to the brush. I'll choose the pencil tool, and it's much smoother there with the stabilizer on. Those are independent of each other, so the brush and pencil tool both have stabilizers, and it will remember what you set them to. So one can be off and one can be on. So make sure they're both on if you'll be switching tools. Here I go. I'm just redrawing that. I'm going to use a couple strokes to create this B, the first letter of our word. So here's our B. It's scalable. That's one of our pros. I can move it around. I can join those paths together after I've expanded the strokes. Let me redraw again with a pencil. And this is, again, I'm just demonstrating the principle using the stroke option here, and you can redo it as many times. The nice thing about it is you can redraw that line until you get the one you like, and then of course this is the adjustable part. You can just, by changing one single point, you're actually affecting both sides of the path, and then you can change the width of the stroke to make it thicker, thinner, again, you're seeing iterations in real life without having to redraw the outside of the shape like you do in the first method. The real power of this is the pressure option here. You can click along that top line and then drag the points down, or you can click option. Right now the two outside points move together, but if you hold the option button down or the alt button down, you can move those end points individually. And you can add as many points as you want to that curve. And you can even save the profiles, and it'll remember, and you can just jump back. That's one of the reusable methods. I can save a profile and then draw another curve or another line and instantly apply it just by clicking on that saved profile. And I can make as many of those as I want and adjust them to my heart's content. Also, I can save those profiles in my styles options. So here's my styles palette. I'm going to add style from selection. And now this will be saved not just in this document, but in all of my documents. So if I had a certain preference I liked that I was going to be using more than once, then it's reusable in that document. Here we are with my turning off my stroke, changing the width. So it remembers the thicks and thins, and even as it is applying the stroke, it will remember that. And there it is. If I want to get back to the original, I just click on my style or click on my profile in the strokes palette. Also, in the appearances menu, you can add multiple strokes with different widths, and it's going to preserve that same thicks and thins from the stroke profile. I can change the colors, then adjust the stroke width, and I'm going to get this cool, almost like neon effect or satin kind of lipstick sort of effect. And you can play around with that just like you do any other appearance. And then you can also save that as another style. So you can really quickly build up different styles, different approaches. So if you're testing out a specific look for your typography or your lettering, you can iterate very quickly. I'm just going to create a new profile here, my strokes palette, and I want it to be kind of bulby on the ends. So I'm going to I'm just going to create a line, and then I'm going to use the pressure option here to model the shape I want. So I want the ends fat, I want the center skinny, and I can again add that profile. I've got the other one saved as well, so I can always go back. And as I start redrawing with this new profile, you can see how it nicely mimics my original kind of design that I included in my drawing. Kind of the bulby ends and the thick to thin on the inside. And of course I can always update that, reapply it, adjust it in order to get the effect I want. You can add as many of those little points on the profile that you want, the pressure profile, to get thicks and thins. Here I've added one of my other profiles. I wanted the end to taper off as it's going into the next letter stroke. So it might take some playing. So this is that, again, that time precision ratio. If you want uniformly thick strokes, easy. But if you want some of this variation, it might take you a little bit of time to figure out what you want that pressure profile to be. So that's basically the sculpted strokes method. It gives you a lot of flexibility, and it's iterative because any change you make is going to be made to both sides of the stroke. And so it's got some advantages to the trace method, but also you're going to have to play around with some of the precision until you get what you want. Next, we'll look at custom brush strokes. See you then.